I'm Gabe Lullo, and welcome to the Do Hard Things podcast. We're talking to go-to-market leaders and entrepreneurs who have conquered the challenges, the hustle, and the grind. Get ready for real talk, real insights, and no fluff.
But the hardest thing in the world right now is not actually closing deals, it's actually getting somebody's attention.
If you don't have that hook in that first 5 to 10 seconds, guess what? They're going to scroll to the next one.
You need to go in and you need to make it sound like yourself. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle. And I promise you, we can all tell.
The people that are trolls and the people that are haters never done the thing that you're doing.
I love doing this podcast because I get a front row seat to some of the greatest minds in sales.
Gone are the days of saying stay in your lane. When you're an executive leader and you're an enterprise-wide leader, there are no lanes. You've got to be partners.
Curiosity is like when the type of questions you ask is sometimes the value that you bring.
I need you to tell me when you're ready to buy or what you're ready to do. And I think it's changed so much into like adding more value. And if you're not doing that, then you're definitely going to come off as desperate.
High pressure selling is like a dinosaur tactic at this point.
No parent is like, oh, you should be a salesperson when you grow up, right? Everyone's like a doctor, lawyer, whatever crap. It's never salespeople.
It's not your job to motivate people. It's your job to find motivated people.
It's not cockiness. It's not arrogance. It's confidence knowing I know this and I know that I can help you.
From where I started to where I am today is all because I learned how to sell.
And there's too many people who have only been doing this for 5 freaking minutes. Sit down, close your mouth, actually go out there and get yourself beat up. Then come back and tell me if something is dead or not.
That is exactly why I started this podcast, because right there, that's the epitome of doing hard things.
Welcome back to the Do Hard Things podcast with Lexi and Gabe. Today's guest, Fabi Preslar, is the founder of Spark Publications, where she spent 28 years helping entrepreneurs, business owners, and organizations transform their expertise into powerful books and magazines that elevate brands, attract opportunities, and build lasting legacies. Spark Publications specializes in entrepreneurial nonfiction, legacy and celebration books, trade and association magazines. But for Fabi, publishing isn't just about getting a book in print. It's about strategically using that book as a platform to grow your business, share your expertise, and create meaningful connections. She's also the author of Fabulous F Words of Business Ownership, Redefining Choice Words to Fuel Your Small Businesses, and most recently, Wilted and Worthy, Essays on Letting Go and Living Fully. Fabi's passionate about working with visionary entrepreneurs ready to make the leap from thinking about writing a book to actually holding it in their hand. Fabi, welcome to the show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Do Hard Things podcast with your hosts, Gabe and Lexi. We're super excited about this one. You just heard the bio. We're really pumped. Fabi, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I'd love to just kick off with your origin story, really, so our audience gets to know from your words a little bit about why you jumped into this journey. You know, what drew you into this world of publishing for the last 28 years, and what made you realize this was more than just a business. It was really a calling for you.
It's a calling, and it kind of came in a little bit backwards in the sense that my dad was wanted to be an entrepreneur, and he tried a lot of these really odd side hustle businesses, and all of them failed. So naturally, what you do when you can't make a small business succeed is that you go ahead and launch a restaurant. So he did that, and unfortunately, it did not succeed as well, which unfortunately made us lose the farm that we lived on, the home we lived in, and everything we knew because, he had closed the restaurant, and we ended up moving from a small town in South Carolina to a town in North Carolina. And, that was the summer before my senior year in high school. So anyway, you learn a lot about detaching and people and everything during those kind of times. But my parents are French immigrants. So we had those things coming in as well. But you take all those things and all those experiences, and it helps you realize that there's a lot of stories in everything. And through those stories, at 17, I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina by myself, had no money, no support, didn't know anybody, and didn't have a car, and decided to start a life, try to make things happen. Again, more stories, right? And not necessarily having a voice at that time because you're too busy surviving and making things happen. Um, you know, took several leaps and jumps and learned graphic design, worked for other people's companies, learned how to run those companies, and, worked for a lot of other people. Went on a job interview and met the coolest man that I think I've ever met. And anyway, 6 months later, we were married. So, um, had when we had our daughter, I didn't want to go back to work. I didn't want to go back to work for somebody else. I didn't want to leave her. And so I started my first business that way. That lasted 6 years. It was in publishing in more of the newsletter, the corporate newsletters, corporate communication. So learned a lot of the trades, part of the things that way. And that didn't work out so well. Learned a lot about how to work with lawyers during that time. And then a couple years later, that's when I started Spark Publications again to be home with my daughter and my husband because everybody on the planet was spending more time with them. But through the graphic design part, being able to see that a lot of the books that we were starting to work on weren't well written or weren't well edited, that led me to wanting to do things at a much higher quality. And so here we are 28 years later. A lot has changed in the industry. It's like a whole different industry, but nonetheless, a quick origin story.
Thank you so much for sharing. And most people really dream about writing a book, but few actually do it. From your point of view, what's the real reason most entrepreneurs just keep their book in their heads and never get it out there to the world?
Because they don't really understand the reason why it's needed. So as soon as you need it for your business and it's going to become a way to market your business, it's going to become a way to establish your credibility, then it becomes more important. It's not just a story that you have the option of holding on to. When you realize there's an audience waiting for it, that starts changing everything.
Yeah, and I'm so happy you're on because we have many of our audience members are authors. They have their own books, but I know a lot of them want to get into this. They want to have their own book. They want to launch something. To Lexi's point, it's in their head. They tell me these stories, and I'm like, you got to go do it, right? So you've worked with hundreds. I mean, nearly what? How? With 3
Quite a few.
decades, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So was there like an early client or project that fundamentally shaped, how you think about what a book can actually do for someone's business and legacy and encourage our audience to jump in the deep end with you?
Absolutely. So part of it is the coaching that we do as well. Everybody thinks they know how to write the book or knows what their book's going to be about, and what we really do is help them figure out what the topic, the title, and the depth of what the book needs to be in order to help them accomplish their goal. So you got to start with your goal. If you don't know what your goal is, like any sales strategy, right? You don't know what the goal is, it's going to be really difficult to succeed in it or make something good happen. But we coach, and one of the great stories was her family of origin story was actually holding her back. And so through kind of the discovery and consulting and coaching through the process, she was able to heal her family story, which allowed her to be able to tell her story more authentically, which allowed her to really make a book much more valuable. So her dream was to be a speaker and to really, I mean, she was has an accounting firm. And so for an accountant to now be a global speaker and have her book won several awards and opened up many doors, then you start realizing the importance of some of these books beyond being on somebody's bookshelves. It opens doors, it established her credibility, it put her on some big stages.
I love that. And I'm glad you brought up process. Let's talk a little bit about the Spark Publications approach. What does strategically using your book as a platform actually mean in practice? And how is that different from just getting published?
Getting published means you've got a product. Strategically using it means you have a plan and you understand how it's going to help your business as well as how you're going to serve with your book. So we find that our clients really want to establish both platforms. They're givers, they want to help heal something in somebody, as well as turn their book into a magnetic product that really helps people understand what service they're providing, how they can help serve better, as far as whether it's a technical aspect of something, whether it's processes, and really just using both of those things and helping them, put a strong book out there.
Yeah, and what I love about your publication is that you work with all different types of backgrounds, right? You work with a lot of
Yes.
different formats, whether it's a business book or a coffee table book or cookbooks, even legacy books and magazines. So, what's that common thread that makes a publication truly impactful, even regardless of the format?
The common thread starts really with the authors themselves. The author has a desire to package what they have learned, whether it's the hard knocks, whether it's the technical knowledge, whether it's just, the life story. And the thread that we're seeing is they want it beautifully designed, because there are a lot of books out there, then you've probably seen a lot that it's just like, thanks, this is a pamphlet, it's not a book, and that's okay. But we work really with the experience of it when someone has the book. So it's beautiful. The functionality of it, whether they're needing it to have some of the journal prompts or reflections or different ways to have the reader use the book, all with the intention of having them learn more, having it a little bit more interactive, but then also realizing, is this something that the reader can actually do themselves with all these tools, or do they need to contact the author and either, join a program or become a one-on-one client? So the thread is high quality. The thread is knowing who the audience is, how they want to use it, how the book needs to function, and just having a beautifully produced book. I mean, these books become part of their legacy also. So you want something that's beautiful.
Totally agree. So when someone comes to you and they say, I want to write a book, what's the first thing you ask them, and what surprises people most about the process going into writing a book?
Well, the first thing I ask them is why, and why now, and what do they want the book to do for them? And those three questions really tell you a lot about who you're getting ready to potentially work with. And actually, it also helps you realize whether you're not going to work with them. So I feel like my job a lot is being a bubble burster that turns down more clients or lets them know they're not ready or this isn't the time, So not a great salesperson in that respect, but very effective in getting a great book done.
Yeah, so there's a lot of differences between, traditional publishing or even self-publishing, and of course what you're doing at Spark Publications. So how do you explain your model to, let's say, an entrepreneur who's coming to you trying to figure out which path is really right for them?
The path on custom publishing is knowing that you need a high level product, which is the book, and that you're willing to do collaboration. You're willing to invest in this collaboration, and that you have the audience or at least the business that can help drive the book. So we don't do the promotions or marketing for the books because most of our clients already have a successful business that already knows how to market and promote to their audience. So there's the level of collaboration, personal investment, and knowing that you're going to own it 100%. And in doing that, you're not going to get royalties because you're creating a product that you're going to have 100% accountability for. And then we feel 100% accountability for it as well.
What would you say is the biggest mental or emotional hurdle when entrepreneurs start committing to publishing? Is it very emotional, or do you think a lot of them are able to take that emotion aside to get the book done?
I think the biggest hurdle is actually time mixed in with the emotion of writing something about your deep knowledge, It doesn't have to be deeply emotional in the sense you're not trying to air laundry, dirty laundry. You're trying to make sure that you're putting quality information out there because it is representing you when you're not in the room. So the biggest hurdle is also a misperception that doing a book is easy because there's so many things out on social media. It says, write your book over the weekend, write it in 30 days. Well, yeah, you can build a house in a day too. You can do, but it's like, what level of thought, what level of quality, what level of so many things are going in there. And, a lot of people want to do a book. It's, kind of I'm now equating it to doing a website. You can throw together a website in an afternoon, or you can hire somebody to do it for $20,000, $40,000. It's just, they're going to be very different sites and it's what's needed for your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you mentioned hard because, of course, difficulty in doing hard things is the name of our show. I
Yes.
think one big piece of doing hard things in regards to, having a book put together is really that imposter syndrome, right? That fear of judgment. Or, I work with a lot of CEOs and we have to tell them, hey, we have to do LinkedIn content to get your face out there. Let's do shoot some video, right? And they're like petrified. Or, hey, we have to teach them how to sell their product and teach them better ways to bring value to the marketplace and whatever they're offering to the marketplace. So we deal with that a lot when we see CEOs and founders having that struggle of fear of actually putting themselves out there. How do you deal with that when it comes to them being terrified of doing that? How do you coach someone to get through that fear to say, you know what, it's worth it, and here's what we're going to do about it? Walk us through that if you don't mind.
Well, it starts with the clarity of knowing why you need to do the book and who's waiting for it, who needs it. And then you focus on that. I don't know how many, if not all, the sessions we go through, I go, this isn't about you, you know, and every business owner and entrepreneur's ego loves to hear that. But honestly, it's like detach yourself from this being you and look at it as what you're building to put out there in service of your business, your company, and quite frankly, your personal brand as well. So always deal with the imposter part, probably usually about a second proof where they won't let it go because it's now real. And then we address the parts about, well, what if they don't like it? I'm like, well, if you did your job right, a lot of people aren't going to like it because it's positioned specifically for the people that you need to attract into your business or to the platform that you're doing. So you're correct. There's some that are going to not care about it. There's some that are going to hate it, and that's okay. Those are not the people that you're wanting to read the book or to attract into your business.
Yeah, totally. And you've recently finished your third book. What did that process teach you about yourself with each book? Was there any surprises?
Yeah, the first one was super hard. And um, I had an idea of what I needed to do. And obviously, I had a great editor at the time who was just like, okay, it was a series of quotes about mentors. So my first one is on heaven's couch, a journey with my masterful mentor. Well, I thought if I just wrote down all these great quotes that she would say, that everyone would get it and it would empower them as much as it did me. Well, when you remove all the stuff that's in my head and attach it to those words without writing it, it was just a bunch of quotes that nobody understood. So then my next step was to write the quotes, write down what they mean to me. And then the third process was write why anybody needs to know about those quotes so that it could better impact their life. So I learned a lot about the process of getting the book out of your head on my first book. And then the second book, Fabulous F Words of Business Ownership, I learned even more about why some of the things that I want to share matter to the reader. So it's about the lessons, but it's more about the lessons, how it's heard and interpreted and can be used by the reader. And then on the third book, this one's more of a gift book. And so it's kind of soul infused and it's almost like this book was channeled in. So I had questions and the universe answered them through my own brain, through higher wisdom. And I wrote down these lyrical essays and matched them up with, quirky photography that just showed the evolution of self and age, through the aging process, through grief, through different processes. So you can see my evolution in each of these books. And so now I try to take what I've learned in all three of those and help the author, the business owners, to kind of get the whole essence of that so that they can do even deeper, better work within their first book.
Awesome. So let's talk about business books for a second, because
Okay.
we've had two guests on the show recently. One interesting story, he actually wrote a book first and then actually has built his business as a lily pad really off the book. So he built his entire business, post book, right?
Yeah, that's
And then we
hard.
have
That's hard.
yeah. And then we have another friend of ours, a guest on the show, who built a very successful business and then created a book as a result of the success he had in the business, right? So
Yeah.
in the business book world, which I'm assuming many of our audience members would either want to entertain or get into and do, do you have a story similar to the one I just shared where it was really a genuine transformation to their business, either pre or post, in a tangible way?
If it comes in too early, so if they have no business background or haven't been an entrepreneur before, writing that first book with the hopes of building that audience is super, super hard. So we've seen quite a few that didn't succeed very well in doing that. And actually, those are the folks now that I let them know that it's probably not the best time or right time. Now, if they're a super salesperson and they come in and they know their marketing or they know how to work with a marketing firm to get this out there, that would be different. But I have turned down most of those books in the past 5 more years just because I felt like it was a disservice to the author. So kudos to your guest for having made that work. It's hard. It's kind of like, me starting my first business without a single client or knowing anything about business. Yeah, I did it. It's not recommended. So the other way around is taking a great history of being an entrepreneur, being a professional, and having something valuable to build the knowledge in the book, and then sharing that information.
Right.
That is hard too, but I would take that over, starting cold turkey from no platform and no business. That's brutal.
Yeah.
So for the entrepreneurs listening who are on the fence if it's worth investing time and money into a book after they've had their company built, what's the best question to ask yourself to know, is it the right time or should I wait a little bit more?
If they aren't going through a bunch of life changes and they can actually physically, emotionally, and time dedicate into doing the manuscript, the other part gets a lot easier because you have a whole team that could do it for you. Um, it's really why now, is the big question on that. And do you have time to dedicate to this project? I mean, it's on some fronts literally like building a new business and at least building another, arms to that business. And if you are having a new baby, buying a new house, in transition, getting married, we have seen that. And it's like, maybe you want to go ahead and write it in secret and start. And, we've done that. We've helped them get the table of contents and, the overarching themes and got, several of those things in place and then say, why don't you take a year? And of course, some of them come like, oh, well, I don't need a year. It's like, okay, well, then come back as soon as you have, the initial draft or at least the outlines or whatnot. So that's really it. Why now? And that
Yeah.
answers a lot of questions.
Let's dovetail on that, because you mentioned before about, having the ability to sell it and going out there and selling it. No one wants to write a book and then have boxes of books in their garage, right? So what's the best advice that you can give them? Are they going to go on a road show and just promote their book all day long? They have a business to run as well. Is it more of a, hands-off approach and they just let it sell itself and bring it up in conversation? Like, what do you recommend to bring it to market type of a way of once the book is published?
Well, that's the real important question about what you want this book to do for you. So we've had clients with super success and they never sold the book. They, would use it as a lead generator and send it to key prospects, moonshot prospects. They would sell it back of the room or have it back of the room or sell it as part of a conference, so somebody has it. So you've got the no sell model, you've got the soft sell model, you've got the model where it becomes a product. So we've had a fitness trainer who had a huge community and he didn't need to market or sell it. He would just post it up like when he would do his lives and put it up on the website. And then you have those that really just want to build their platform with it. And so they're selling it, through social media. They're getting up on stages. Most of our clients aren't going to go on a road show. I mean, we've had several that have done cookbooks with great editorial stories because they were already media celebrities and had things that people, really wanted to have them for a book signing and, book sales like that. I'm thinking if when they do want to really sell masses of books, then it's them collaborating with a PR firm, marketing firm, publicist, however it works best for them to really figure out what they want to do. I always strongly urge that you're not going to go do a book signing in a bookstore because nobody cares, and unless you just have nothing to do and want to waste some time and feel bad because 3 people stopped by your table, that's a process. But if you want to, throw a workshop and include the book in the workshop and that workshop lands you, 5, 10 new clients and you continue building your company, that's the kind of folks that we work with. They're using the book as a great tool to help them build some other kind of platform or mission.
That's awesome. And Spark Publications has clearly built a reputation and a brand in a crowded space. What's been your guiding principle for how you show up, especially when there are so many publishing options out there?
That changes yearly. Nowadays, and, we've just had a couple other people, fairly close to our network decide they're going to start a publishing company. And it used to hurt. It used to hurt really bad. And then now I really start looking at it. It's like, okay, it didn't hurt me so much when everybody decided they could build websites, right? So depending on all these different aspects of it, there's a lot of different skill levels, a lot of different ways to do it, a lot of different things to invest in. So we have focused on high touch service and we have focused on quality and great design, well edited books, and highly marketable cover designs. Is that a fit for everyone? No, no. Some people really don't want to put tons of time into really creating content that becomes magnetic, because they don't really want to put themselves in it. And there's no right or wrong to that. You can write something fairly surface level with some great tips and put it out there, quick on demand, put it out there, no design. And, you could tout that it become a Amazon bestseller as well, because you posted up at 2:00 in the morning and got your 20 friends to buy it, and it actually is now Amazon bestseller, and it's now an Amazon bestseller. So that's what's made us stand out. I mean, and we're not a fit for everybody. We only take on about 20 books a year, so we're not out there. We're not out there pimping it. We don't have any salespeople. It's all done on, referrals, recommendations, and meeting and seeing some of the work that we've done.
I love your story. So, again, let's talk about you for a second, again, about hard things, because, doing what you do is difficult. Doing what you do for almost 30 years is extremely difficult. That takes doing hard things to the next level, and it really builds serious resilience, right?
Yes.
So what do you do to personally stay grounded, stay motivated? You have this ability to say no to clients now and say no to people who want to, be authors and write books. And you're like, we're not going to take that on, or you're only taking on 20 a year. So you've built this amazing foundation where you can say now no to clients. How do you build this resiliency? How do you stay grounded? What motivates you personally to keep pushing through and building your business?
Well, I really love working with the clients that we work with. Obviously, we get to be selective. I also have found the power in stepping out and doing things that have nothing to do with the business. And what was about 3 years ago, I decided to start painting again. I mean, it's like that was the dream when I started the business almost 30 years ago, is that I was going to have plenty of time to paint, and I didn't paint since. So I decided to pick up the paintbrush again. And honestly, it was so that nobody could tell me what to do. Nobody had to have an opinion about it. And it's just creative exploration and just creative expression. And so I started painting and decided, because we're type A, to make sure that I do at least one painting a month. And then I thought, well, what am I going to do with all those paintings? So I decided I was going to be quiet about it. I didn't tell any of my friends I was painting. So you can imagine we had quite a collection here at home. But then I decided for a milestone birthday that just recently took place that I was going to have a gallery show and invited my friends. So 70 of us were there at the Charlotte Museum of History in the Grand Ballroom, and it was all decorated with paintings. And I decided, okay, well, if they're there, my husband says, well, somebody's going to want to buy these, or you know what? Somebody needs to buy these. We got too many of them. So I went ahead and finally launched the nonprofit that had been slowly lurking, and I had gotten the 501c3, but didn't have time to do anything with it. So published the last book, The Wilted and Worthy, had the paintings, and all the proceeds from those 2 projects on my birthday all went to fuel Radiant Chapters Collective so that an entrepreneur can publish their books. And, we're doing the scholarship for that. It's called the Radiant Chapters Authorpreneur Publishing Scholarship. And we're accepting applications for one now, and it's a $15,000 scholarship. And we're trying to get 2 more before our big fundraiser in the spring. So do something different that fuels your heart.
That's an amazing story, and that's really awesome. And for the entrepreneur listening who's been sitting on a book idea for years, feeling overwhelmed by where to start or if it's even worth it, what's one thing you'd want them to know or do before they close out this episode?
If you have accumulated knowledge, if you are a server, if you want to help other people out and grow your business and fuel your own soul, then at least write it. At least write the manuscript and then see what you can do with it. Someone will let you know if it is something that you can grow and expand on and turn it into a book that can help you accomplish goals. But everybody should at least write their own memoir. Doesn't mean you have to publish it. It doesn't mean that anybody has to read it. But at least write it to sort out your own life and to make it make sense, because everybody goes through hard things. And sometimes when you can point all the dots, line them up of all the hard things you've gone through, then you can see that it actually is what was building your life all along. Builds that resiliency.
Baby, this has been an amazing show. I know there's many people in the audience that are kind of come reach out to you to get their book started. What's the best way to get a hold of you, and who is that exact person that should be reaching out?
The person that should be reaching out is an entrepreneur that's put in the time and the years, amassed their knowledge, has something to give back as far as that knowledge. And, it's time to share it, time to give it to where it can help other people out. So reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's Fabi Preslar on LinkedIn, or sparkpublications.com. You can reach me through that as well.
Awesome. We'll put all the links in the below here in the podcast. Thank you so much, Fabi, for joining us with me and Lexi. For all of those listening, keep doing the hard things, and we will see you on the next one.
That sounds great. Thank you.